Do you want to know the absolute fastest way to make a narcissist lose interest in you completely? Here are 7 powerful things that will make them walk away and leave you alone for good. And number 7 is so strong that they will start avoiding you like a disease they cannot risk catching. Many people believe the only way to deal with a narcissist is to fight back, argue, or prove themselves right. But doing that is exactly what keeps the narcissist hooked, because it feeds their craving for attention, drama, and control. What truly works is when you become calm, peaceful, and completely unbothered. So you stop being interesting to them. You stop giving them the emotional energy they feed on. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to make that happen step by step. Before we begin, let us be clear about something important. This is not about manipulation or revenge. This is about saving your peace, your power, and your sanity, because narcissists are emotional vampires. They survive on your reactions, your energy, your fear, your anger, and your sadness. As long as you keep reacting, they will always return for more. Research and psychology both show that narcissists believe they own you. In their mind, you belong to them. You are not a person with freedom. You are a source of emotional supply that they can use anytime they please. But here is the truth they do not want you to know. This entire illusion breaks down the moment you stop playing your role in their game. When you refuse to react, to chase, or to explain, they lose control. So let us go through the 7 things that make narcissists lose interest and leave you alone forever. And trust me, number 7 is the most powerful one of all. The first thing you must do is stop giving emotional reactions. Narcissists feed on your emotions like fuel. They do not care whether you love or hate them. What they care about is that you are still reacting, that you still care enough to feel something. When you cry, beg, argue, or try to explain yourself, you are feeding them exactly what they crave. Think of it like dealing with a spoiled child. When a child throws a tantrum and gets attention, they learn that tantrums work. Narcissists do the same thing, only they are adults with the emotional control of a toddler. When you react, they feel powerful. But when you stop reacting, when you stay calm and emotionally flat, they lose control. At first, they will try harder. They will say hurtful things, try to provoke you, even pretend to change. They will do anything to get a reaction. But when you give them nothing, no anger, no sadness, no excitement, they start to deflate. Because what is the point of performing when the audience has stopped watching? This does not mean fake indifference. It means you have truly reached a point where their opinions, insults, and drama mean nothing to you anymore. That is real strength. The second thing is to practice total no contact properly. Many people think they are doing no contact, but keep making small exceptions. Real no contact means absolutely no communication, no curiosity, and no checking. Experts describe 5 areas where people break contact without realizing it: direct messages, indirect messages through others, social media stalking, driving by their house, or asking mutual friends about them. You must close every single one of these doors. Imagine a burglar walking down a street. He comes to a house with a locked gate, cameras, lights, and a barking dog. He walks away, but if he sees a house with open windows and no alarm, that is where he goes. Narcissists think the same way. They always look for easy access. So if you make it difficult, they move on. That is why your no contact must be complete. Block their number, block their social media, and even change your phone number if needed. Tell mutual friends you do not want updates and do not want to give updates either. But here is the hardest part. You also have to stop checking on them. Every time you look at their profile or ask about them, you break your own boundary. Somehow they can always sense it. But when you go fully silent, you become invisible to them. And narcissists cannot manipulate what they cannot see. They cannot control what they cannot contact. They might test you now and then, but if you never respond, they will eventually give up. The third thing is to stop defending or explaining yourself. Narcissists are masters of twisting your words and making you feel like you must justify your actions. They will accuse you of things you never did just to keep you talking. The more you explain, the deeper you fall into their trap. When you defend yourself, you are accepting the idea that you need their approval. You are giving them the power to judge your worth. But imagine what happens when you stop. If they call you selfish and you simply say, okay. If they say you never cared and you respond, that is your opinion. Suddenly they lose control because their entire manipulation depends on your need to be understood. When you stop caring about what they think, they cannot hurt you. You do not need their approval to know who you are. You do not have to prove your goodness, your loyalty, or your love, because to them, none of that matters. This does not mean you let lies spread. If someone at work threatens your job, of course you defend yourself professionally. But in personal relationships, the best move is silence. Do not play their game. When you stop explaining, you show them that their opinions have no power over you. You are saying, you do not define me anymore. And that is something narcissists cannot stand. The fourth thing is to become genuinely indifferent. Pretending not to care will not work because narcissists sense fake energy. Real indifference means you have healed so much that you truly do not care what they do, who they are with, or what they say. They become emotionally irrelevant. You no longer check their updates, wonder about their life, or hope they miss you. They are just another person in the world who no longer has access to your emotions. To reach that state, you have to grieve. You have to grieve the illusion, the version of them you thought was real. You have to accept that the person you loved never truly existed the way you imagined. Once you process that pain, you gain peace. Then you start seeing them for what they are. Not powerful, not mysterious, but deeply broken and insecure. You realize their cruelty comes from emptiness. Their control comes from fear. And once you understand that, you stop taking their behavior personally. They lose their hold on you completely. True indifference is not hate. Hate still feeds them. Indifference means you feel nothing, just neutrality. You stop trying to understand them, fix them, or change them. They simply stop existing in your emotional world. That is when you become truly free. The fifth step is to focus completely on your own life. This is the part where real healing begins. You stop living as a reaction to them. You stop posting to make them jealous. You stop doing things to prove your worth. You stop going places hoping to bump into them. You stop thinking about what they will think if you do this. Instead, you live for yourself. You start new projects, meet kind people, and follow your dreams. You spend your time doing what excites you instead of replaying the past. You invest in your growth, your health, and your joy. And something amazing happens. You start to glow from within. Your energy becomes peaceful, happy, and fulfilled. Narcissists hate this because it destroys their illusion that you need them. They want you miserable, broken, and missing them. But when you are living your best life, their control fades away into nothingness. You become entirely unapproachable through their manipulation tactics. They try to find an opening, a crack in your armor, but they find solid ground instead. Your new life acts as an impenetrable fortress, protecting your mind and soul. They realize they no longer hold any special place in your thoughts. The spotlight has shifted completely away from them and onto your own wonderful journey. This starves them of the validation they desperately crave from you. Moving on to the sixth thing, you must remove all lingering expectations of an apology or closure. Many people stay stuck in the cycle because they are waiting for the narcissist to finally admit they were wrong. They want that magical moment of remorse where the truth comes out and things are made right. Let me save you years of pain by telling you that day will never come. Narcissists are physically and emotionally incapable of genuine accountability. If they ever say the words, "I am sorry," it is only a strategic tool used to hook you back into the cycle. True closure does not come from them acknowledging the damage they caused. True closure is something you give to yourself. It is the realization that you do not need their confession to heal and move forward. When you accept that they will never change and that you will never get the apology you deserve, a profound weight lifts off your shoulders. You stop looking backward and start looking forward with clarity. The expectation dies, and along with it, any remaining power they held over your future. You no longer wait for the other shoe to drop, because you have accepted reality just as it is. This radical acceptance shuts the final door on their ability to surprise or manipulate you through false hope. They become entirely predictable in their toxicity, and you become completely immune to it. Now we have reached the seventh and most powerful thing of all. Remember how I told you earlier that this final step is so strong, they will start avoiding you like a disease they cannot risk catching? Here it is. The seventh thing is exposing their true nature to them, with absolute calmness and zero emotion, treating them as if they are completely insignificant and boring. Narcissists possess a fragile ego masked by supreme grandiosity. They desperately need to believe they are the most fascinating, terrifying, and unforgettable people in any room. When you look at a narcissist not with anger or fear, but with total boredom, as if they are the most uninteresting and mundane human being on earth, their entire psychological house of cards collapses. You do not yell, you do not curse, and you do not threaten. You simply look right through them as if they are invisible air. If they try to start a conversation, you give them a polite, blank nod and walk away to do something more important. You treat them with the polite indifference you might show a stranger asking for directions on the street. No special treatment, no emotional charge, no fascination whatsoever. When a narcissist realizes that you view them as utterly ordinary, boring, and forgettable, it wounds their core identity beyond repair. They cannot handle being ordinary because their entire survival depends on feeling extraordinary. By stripping away their drama, their terror, and their perceived power, you reduce them to nothing in their own eyes. They will not be able to run away from you fast enough, because for a narcissist, being hated is tolerable, being fought is exciting, but being profoundly boring and insignificant is a fate worse than death. They will actively avoid crossing your path, dodge your presence, and stay completely away from you just to protect their fragile pride. They will leave you alone for good, because staying around you reminds them of their own irrelevance. And that is the ultimate victory for your peace of mind. When you focus on yourself, you no longer have time to think about their chaos. You are too busy building a peaceful life. You stop comparing your success to theirs. You stop competing. You stop explaining. You stop caring. And that peace becomes your shield. It protects you from being pulled back into old patterns. The sixth thing is to stop trying to expose or change them. This is one of the hardest steps because your sense of justice screams that they must be held accountable. You want to warn others. You want to make the world see what they did. But every time you try to expose them, you feed them more energy, because even negative attention is still attention. They do not care if you hate them. They only care that you are still talking about them. When you try to expose them, they often play the victim and twist the story around. They will make others believe you are obsessed, bitter, or unstable. They are very charming to outsiders, and they have probably already told people their own version of the story. So, when you speak up, it often sounds like proof of their lies. It is unfair, but it is true. The exact same thing goes for trying to change them. You cannot fix someone who refuses to see a problem. Sending articles about narcissism, begging them to get help, or explaining their patterns gives them more control. It keeps you emotionally attached to them. Their healing is not your job. Their self-awareness is not your responsibility. You cannot teach empathy to someone who simply does not want to feel it. When you stop trying to change or expose them, you reclaim your energy. You stop being the exhausted hero in their story and become the main character in your own. That is the real victory. The best revenge is living well, not to hurt them, but to heal yourself. When you are happy, strong, and at peace, that is the one thing they can never steal from you. And now for the seventh and final step. Become completely emotionally unavailable as a source of supply. This is the ultimate form of freedom. It is when you are not only physically distant, but also emotionally untouchable. They can no longer trigger you because you have detached from the need for their approval or attention. When they text, you do not reply. When they insult, you do not flinch. When they praise, you do not melt. You remain steady, calm, and grounded. You give them nothing. No anger, no love, no pity, and no explanation. You become as still as a rock, not cold out of hate, but peaceful out of strength. When you reach this point, you do not just make one narcissist lose interest. You stop attracting them into your life entirely. They can sense when someone has no emotional supply to give, and they quickly move on. You become invisible to toxic people, but magnetic to kind ones. You start drawing people who match your peace instead of those who test it. Becoming emotionally unavailable is not about pretending to be strong. It is about becoming truly healed inside. It is about realizing that your peace is far too precious to waste on people who drain it. When you are emotionally unavailable to manipulation, you are finally free. You can finally live your life without their dark shadow following you. So, there you have it. The 7 powerful ways to make narcissists leave you alone for good. Stop giving emotional reactions, go no contact, and keep it firm. Stop defending or explaining yourself. Become truly indifferent. Focus on your own life completely. Stop trying to expose or change them. And finally, become emotionally unavailable as supply. This is not about punishing them or winning a game. It is about reclaiming your peace, your joy, and your self-respect. When you follow these steps, you do not just make them lose interest, you set yourself free. The goal is never to hurt them. The goal is to heal you. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can ever do is walk away quietly and never look back. Not because you hate them, but because you have learned to love yourself more. You do not owe them pain, reaction, or closure. You owe yourself peace. When you rise above the games and stop responding to their chaos, you become untouchable. You become the one thing they cannot control, calm, grounded, and free. And that is when you truly win, not by defeating them, but by choosing yourself. If this message helped you, keep learning, keep growing, and keep choosing peace every single day, because the life waiting for you beyond their control is much more beautiful and peaceful than you can imagine. When you finally break free from the cycle, something amazing begins to happen inside you. You start to see just how much of your life was spent trying to earn love from someone who never had any to give. You realize how many times you explained yourself hoping they would understand, only to be misunderstood all over again. You start to see that the arguments, the confusion, and the sudden affection followed by cruelty were never your fault. It was all part of their design to keep you stuck in their web. Narcissists build emotional traps that make you question your own worth. So when you finally step out, the air feels different, lighter, cleaner, and peaceful. That silence that once scared you now becomes your safe sanctuary. At first, the silence feels like a loss. You miss the intensity and even the chaos because your nervous system got addicted to it. It is not love you miss. It is the emotional roller coaster. That is exactly what trauma bonding does. It wires your brain to crave the very person who hurts you. But with time, the fog clears away. You start sleeping better at night. You start smiling again for no reason at all. You start feeling safe in your own personal space. That is how you know you are truly healing. The narcissist may think they broke you, but in reality,